Uh-oh.
After every fight, you think of what I could have did better. Where can I get better? So after that fight, you really, you go back to the drawing board and you're trying to figure out where did I go wrong, and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't. I fought a guy who did everything wrong leading up to the fight. Me doing everything right. Great team, great coaches, great game plan. It's just hard to beat somebody when.
When they're on performance-enhancing drugs, when they're on peds, I don't think that's that controversial a statement, even though I see a lot of people pushing against it, pushing back. Thankfully, I don't listen to a lot of people because I think most people, most of them, are stupid. Most of what they have to say, most of what they think, and most of what they do is stupid. So when a good number of them push against what Devin Haney is saying, that it's hard to beat a guy who's on a banned substance, a guy who's on peds, I expect them to do that because they're stupid. And if they weren't, we'd all have a PhD, wouldn't we? They'd all be doctors and lawyers and lab techs, how they claim to be whenever this conversation is brought up, that the amount of Osterin they found in Ryan's system had no palpable effect. How the hell would you know? You're just doing the Yono Sabo solidarity thing to where Ryan is a Yono Sabo and you're a Yono Sabo and you pledge fealty to him on that premise. Or maybe you just like looking at his face, or you like looking at his abs. To where he so clearly cheated, but you don't care. You just like looking at his face, or you like looking at his abs. You wish he would tongue punch you in the ass. Which is hardly objective, but whatever floats your boat, that's between you, Ryan, and God. As far as I'm concerned, Ryan cheated. He deliberately cheated, and the bottom line is, the Osterin didn't get there on its own, and it's not there for no reason. That's one. What's two? It's not just the Osterin. It's that where Devin Haney had to drain himself to make 140 pounds, Ryan didn't bother, so the night of, Ryan shows up stronger, with more in the tank, more durability than Devin. Well, Devin knew that. He accepted the terms. I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm saying it matters that one guy did the work to get to 140 and one guy didn't. So the night of, one of them has more to give and more in the tank. With a little sprinkle of Osterin in there. You have to be biased. You have to be biased to disregard that not only did Ryan test positive for a banned substance, but he also blew the weight, and that could have very well had an effect on the fight. Now, those aren't the only factors. How much things have changed in boxing that this even needs to be iterated or reiterated, that yes, testing positive for a banned substance, using one and blowing the weight could affect how a fight plays out. You didn't used to have to do that before, but you do now because of people's biases. But that's not all. There's also what happened in the early goings of the fight. You see, in the early goings of the fight, I believe it was a left hook. Ryan got in with a good left hook that rattled Devin Haney's cage. And from there on, Devin wanted his lick back. He took an aggressive approach. I don't think that was his original plan. It seemed like a reaction. He says he had a great team, the perfect plan. Maybe after eating all of those left hooks, his memory isn't serving him, but I don't think that was the original plan, to go after Ryan Garcia. While stepping into his jab without the right hand high, he was susceptible to left hooks. It wasn't there to protect that side of his face, or maybe it's just that he couldn't contend with Ryan's speed. That Ryan is faster than most, if not every guy that he's fought so far, and taller. I don't think Devin was really used to that, because at 135 and at 140, he had a height advantage over most guys, a reach advantage over most guys, to where he can keep the fighter at arm's length and fight the fight from a safe distance. We all know that mid-range to inside, Devin is vulnerable, but he had to try to get there with Ryan because Ryan's on the move and Ryan is taller, a situation you didn't often see Devin Haney in. So you're saying Devin's got holes in his game? I am, but that doesn't excuse Ryan for using a banned substance or blowing the weight. None of that pardons him, but that is a part of it. Some are using that as a crutch, saying that Peds or no Peds, Ryan Garcia would have beat Devin. Gervonta Davis is saying as much. Gervonta Davis reacted to this interview by saying, "Dude is really a bitch. He said he had a great game plan. No, you didn't. We all seen the fight as a whole. You got your ass beat, bruv. Move on and get over it." That's rich coming from him, seeing as he was the first to accuse Ryan Garcia of using a banned substance. It was in December of 2022, before he fought Ryan, that Gervonta Davis accused him of using performance-enhancing drugs, saying that's the reason Ryan didn't want to take a fight ahead of their fight, that he's likely cycling off, so he doesn't want to fight so that he won't get tested. At this time, their fight had already been announced for the coming year, and Gervonta Davis chose to take a fight in the interim with Hector Luis Garcia, where Ryan chose not to fight at all. At least at the time, Gervonta Davis found this suspicious. And the way that he explained it, it's likely because Ryan is cycling off and he doesn't want to fight so that he won't get tested. His story has since changed. Quite conveniently, he would rather endorse Ryan's victory over Devin than stick to his original story. Because Devin Haney was becoming a problem for Gervonta. People were starting to demand that Gervonta Davis face him, especially after Turki El Al-Sheikh said that he wants to pay Gervonta to come over to Saudi and have that fight. It was becoming an annoyance for Gervonta, so much so that he's willing to support this cheater, to indirectly aggrandize himself that Ryan beat you and I beat him, which makes me better than you. It's what it is. It's what I told you. You can't support Ryan Garcia with everything that's come out unless you have a bias. Gervonta Davis has his and some of you have yours. Very simple. If there's a rematch, I think Devin Haney wins it. If there's a rematch, Ryan won't get the chance to pull all that crap he pulled ahead of the first fight. Asked if he wants a rematch with Ryan, Devin said if he was right there, I'd get it back right now. I tried to do it fair, and you messed up. I did everything right. All my shit came back clean. Everything's gotta be right. Everything's gotta be on my terms. Do you think Ryan Garcia would go for that? He might. If the well dries up and he's facing a scarcity of options next year, he might not have a choice. He might have to run it back with Devin, as that would be the biggest fight for him anywhere at or around these weights. Oh, sure, there are alternatives. There are other fights, like, say, Teofimo Lopez or maybe Mario Barrios. If Mario can stay champion, there are alternatives, but neither one of those two fights pays more than this one because this one comes with backstory. This one's been built up. This one's got a controversy attached to it, and controversy sells. So if Ryan is facing a scarcity of options next year, and he can't find a lucrative fight to fight, might have to run it back with Devin. There's too much money there not to, and if he's so confident that he can beat Devin 10 times out of 10, then what's one more fight? You get more money. You might sell more with the rematch than you did with the first one. You might. There are several factors that led to Ryan's victory, but it shouldn't be overlooked that he did deliberately blow the weight and he did use a banned substance. So unless he gets to do all of that again, I don't think he wins the rematch. And if there is a rematch, there's likely going to be a penalty clause in play if either fighter doesn't come in at the contracted weight. A big one. Big enough that Ryan won't pull that stunt again, as well as a penalty clause if anybody tests positive for a banned substance leading up to or after the fight. Yeah, sure. Devin ain't got no pop, no power, he can't crack an egg, can't seem to take a punch. That matters too. But Ryan's peds don't? Devin wins the rematch for me, though not in the same fashion that Ryan beat him. I don't think Devin knocks him out or knocks him down, I don't think. What I think he does is he gives him a boxing lesson. He shuts him out to where Ryan maybe only wins a round, maybe? And that could lead to a subsequent trilogy, since they would really only be 1-1 with each other. 1-1 unofficially, since the outcome of the first fight has been overturned. But still, 1-1 to a lot of people, because a lot of people endorse Ryan's victory. The reason I don't is because when I look at Ryan, I see everything that's wrong with boxing. Wrong with boxing today here in America. He doesn't want to fight for titles. He doesn't want to earn it the hard way. He doesn't even want to make weight. The following he has is from his social media, not his boxing. He's everything that's wrong with the sport right now on this side of the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm not going to support him. That's on top of him being a bigot, a racist, and an airhead. A bimbo. He's a male bimbo. He's a mimbo. A dingbat. And I don't like him. I don't support him. Or what he's trying to do to the sport of boxing. Push comes to shove, I think Devin beats him in a rematch. And I think there is gonna be one. He'll get it right the second time out.
And now, the clapback I know you've all been waiting for. Canelo versus Berlanga. As I predicted, T-Mobile Arena did not sell out. In fact, an entire section of the arena was curtained off. I know people who attended the fight and confirmed these facts for me. And as far as the action, I called it in advance. Another fight that went the distance without any truly exciting moments. Berlanga didn't win one round. He was never remotely in the fight from the first bell. Is this where boxing is going? The bar has been set so low that fans are just happy to see fighters last 12 rounds? What? Fighters are getting praise for simply going the distance with a 35-year-old Canelo who hasn't knocked anybody out since 2021. Don't you all want to see knockouts? I'm from a different time in this sport when fighters went to war in the ring. We wanted to destroy our opponents. I still took the Pacquiao fight knowing my body was broken and old and I couldn't beat him. But I was a warrior. I wanted to be a legend. It's a different mentality, a champion's mentality. Canelo wants to get paid. He avoids Benavides and Bivol, who schooled him just like Mayweather. He wants to cruise easily into retirement. Where are the fighters who have balls? Don't we want to see the best fight the best? Why are we as boxing fans accepting this low-level competition and entertainment?
Oscar spends way too much time thinking about this guy. He calls these little segments clapbacks, clapback Thursdays, which would imply that he's clapping back at someone when he isn't. You're not clapping back to Canelo because Canelo don't spend the time on you that you spend on him. Why would he? So look, Oscar originally predicted that the fight would flop, that the pay-per-view would bomb. That didn't happen. Enough people showed up to the fight that it generated 17 million at the gate, and enough people bought it at home that it generated another 58 million at the box office. You put all of that together, that's $75 million. This guy generated $75 million with a fight nobody was even asking him to have. And you constantly obsessing over him. How is that not a win? Oscar takes a stroll down memory lane, starts talking about the good old days back when he was a fighter. Because Canelo should be more like you, behave like you did. Addicted to drugs, hookers, wearing women's clothing while spiraling out of control and losing every fight to every solid fighter they put you in there with towards the tail end of your career. Because many speculate Canelo is in the twilight stages of his. He might be. So let's compare the twilight of his career to the twilight of yours. You're always talking about how Floyd Mayweather schooled him. Floyd Mayweather beat him. Did you forget that he beat you too? Because he did, but when he did, it was on your terms. So what's more embarrassing? A young guy, 23 years old, in there with the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world fighting on his terms, or you being the A-side to Floyd, still losing on yours. Because Floyd fought you on your terms, at your weight, with your gloves, and you still lost. You act like you won. Just say that Dimitri Bivol schooled him. Dimitri Bivol beat him, which he did, but he didn't do to Canelo what Bernard Hopkins did to you. He folded you up like a lawn chair. So what's worse? You talk about how Canelo hasn't knocked anybody out in a while. Oscar Towards the tail end of your career, the only one getting knocked out was you.
So what's worse?
Knocked out by Bernard Hopkins, knocked out by Manny Pacquiao.
Knocked out.
Is that supposed to be better than Canelo? Regularly fighting bigger, younger fighters than he is, beating them decisively.
Well, except for Bivol.
There's no shame in losing a Bivol. There's no shame in losing a Bivol, and if there is, Oscar should be 2 times as ashamed for getting folded up by Bernard Hopkins.
For shame.
If Canelo Alvarez retired right now, he would retire with only 2 career defeats, just 2. And you're gonna argue that he got some gift decisions in there, but so did you. I mean, people could say the same thing about you and the Felix Sturm fight, or the Pernell Whitaker fight.
I'm old enough to remember people saying after those fights, Oscar got a gift. Oscar got another gift.
I don't hear it said enough that Canelo today has a more successful boxing career than Oscar's.
He does.
Because he is a more disciplined athlete. He is a more disciplined boxer than Oscar. Remember, the cocaine, the hookers, the downward spiral, the women's clothing,
The losing streak.
Oscar acts like that's something to be proud of. It isn't. When I compare Canelo's career to Oscar's so far, Canelo could retire right now with a more successful boxing career, having made more money than Oscar. And that is what bothers Oscar, that no matter how many shots he takes at him, no matter how much he tries to drag his name in the mud, he's still successful. The event was still a success.
You said it wasn't gonna be.
So what do you get out of dedicating this much time to Canelo Alvarez for no reason other than he left your promotional company that was 4 or 5 years ago? You're still mad about that.
You must be. You're not talking about this guy at least once a week because of how happy you are with your own situation. And if he sucks so bad, why don't you come up with someone better to usurp him?
Senicia Estrada left you. Rumor has it Jaime Munguia did too. Rumor has it that he may be a top-ranked fighter moving forward.
And we'll see.
You've got bigger problems than whatever Canelo's gate is or whoever Canelo's fighting. What the hell do you care? He's not your fighter.
No matter what you say, he's making his coins anyway.
You can't stop him. You talk about the bar being set so low that the fans are willing to accept Canelo Alvarez's fights, when in reality, you're just mad he still has fans. You're just mad they haven't turned on him the way some people turned on you.
You left the sport because you had to. Canelo, on the other hand, he might leave it just because he wants to, with more success than you.
What's a clapback Thursday without the token Benavidez reference? Of course he brings up David Benavidez, trying to use David to turn the fans against Canelo. You can't get David paying customers for hate of Canelo. That's not how fandom and fanaticism works.
David has to create his own legacy. He has to earn his own fandom, the same way Canelo did, going against your best wishes, fighting the likes of Floyd Mayweather.
Didn't you say that you advised him against that? And didn't you advise him against the Arislandi Lara fight? But he had those fights anyway, and people respect him for it.
That he paid his dues. He won some fights, he lost some fights, he rebounded off those losses. People respect him for it.
You think you're gonna get David respect by using him as a tool against Canelo Alvarez? It doesn't work like that, because if it did, his 2 pay-per-views would have did a lot better. He wouldn't be relegated to Gervonta Davis's undercard. You're not gonna get him paying customers
just because you hate Canelo.
Or for hate of Canelo, when more people support him than they support you and your fighters.
You lost, Oscar. You've already lost.